All right, let's get started here. I got told that we need to do a CMA comp class online so y'all can go back over it. So we are going to start one right now. We are going to actually do my own personal property. That way it's a little bit easier. It's the easy neighborhood. We're going to start out with the easy one and then we can work our way up. Very first thing that you're going to want to do is open the realist card. All right, so first thing you do is go to realist card and type in the address that you're wanting to pull a comp on. 446 Lockline Avenue. Now, when this pops up, something that you want to notice is there's a couple different things going on here. Sometimes the bedrooms and baths aren't correct. A lot of times, like for example here on my property, it says one fireplace. There's more than one fireplace in this property. Sometimes it says 2 garages or fence. So don't go by this as a gold standard, but more of like an estimate. Pretty much what I am looking for on here is building square footage, year built, maybe acreage if it really is a neighborhood going on, and sometimes bedrooms, bathrooms. Other times I don't really care. Most of the time I don't care actually. So I'm going to take this address and we're going to go back to the matrix. Now when you're in the matrix and you go to residential quick, yours is going to look a lot different from mine. One, I've moved some things around. I've added a couple of things. Why? Because the only thing I do is pull comps for everybody. So when you get on here, you're not going to have like the closed ones already marked. Yours will look more like this. Now we want to do 180 days if possible. If we have to go longer than that, we can. But if appraiser is going to go off 180 days for the most part. So the very first thing I'm going to do is type in the address right here off of the map search. I'm going to go here and I'm going to do a 1 mile radius. All right, so I got 90 matches. That's a lot of matches for a 1 mile radius. The next thing I'm going to do is take the square footage. If you look back over here on here, it's about 2,000 square feet. I try to keep a range between right around 500 square feet plus or minus either way. A good way to look at it is like, what is a comparable property size if they were looking for other properties? If I'm in a 2,000 square foot range, 1,500 is probably on the low side. So I might go up to like 1,750 if thinking about somebody, but you know for a fact that they'd go to 2,500 square foot. But we're just going to do 1,500 to 2,500 square feet on here. All right, so now we've dropped down to 36 matches. A lot more easy to actually go through all the different comps. Whenever I hit results, next thing I'm going to do is actually go by distance. So I click my distance, and the reason why I do this is on the map, it is actually doing it based off of the subject property that we got. So if I'm doing something really quick on the fly, I'm going to go like this. Watch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, I'm gonna just hit quick CMA. That's in 4/10 of a mile. All of them same age range because I know the neighborhood. But if you have a new property in an old neighborhood, then you probably don't want to be using old properties. Then I'm gonna look straight down through here on this line. See if there's any outliers. So we've got one for 250 and one for 244. Reason being is look at their square footages. This one is extremely big. This one's extremely small. Lot size in this neighborhood is extremely valuable. We're on 0.16 of an acre over here. So 200 to come in at $250 a square foot is considering a lot of land size. So let's just go ahead and take this out because I'm going to show you something. And what was the other one? Queen Street maybe? Yes, Queen Street. Take those two out because I'm going to show you all that you do way too much work sometimes on a CMA. All right, so right here, we've moved down. We're pretty tight on price per square foot. This number, these numbers right here are the ones that I look at the most. Price per square foot. Why? Because lot sizes are all about the same. Ages are about the same. Now bedrooms and baths, not the same for our subject. Our subject's got more bedrooms and baths, so might be worth a little bit more. We'll just take that into consideration. All right, so next thing that I do, we've got our baseline here, 187. I think that's probably going to be pretty close. I'm going to go back through and look at the photos of the properties themselves and see if it's comparable to our subject. If you want to see what your subject looks like, sometimes if it's on the MLS, you'll see the picture at the top there. You can always go down here, click, because we're trying to rent it right now, active rental, and you can scroll through and see what your subject looks like if it's been on the market. So like for example, if we're looking at an older one, and you would know, this is what it looked like. Nothing. Oh, because it was a foreclosure. They didn't put anything on there. Yes. So you can just go through it that way. But that's how you can sort of get a good feel of what your property's looking like in the past if you're trying to do something that is off market. If it's on the market, you know what it looks like probably. They probably have pictures on it. If they don't, then it's probably hideous. All right. So let's look at this property. Pretty close, style-wise, things like that. They've done some upgrades, nice flooring, new paint. You can tell it's a flip. It looks pretty good though. So they did a pretty good job. All right, so we'll leave that sitting there. Craig Street. About the same kind of cabinets, hardwood floors everywhere. Pretty close. All right, next one. What we're looking for is some outlier situation. So it could be something that's way overdone or way underdone. So if it's a foreclosure. So like this one, for example, I can tell this is a really small kitchen, fisheye lens, everything else. It's probably pretty tight. You can see the closet organizer is pretty tight. No closets, which most of them don't. Baseboard heat probably going to be a factor off of this property. Beautiful backyard, better than mine, everything else. So we got some pluses and minuses on both sides of that one. Academy Street. Academy's a little bit busier of a road. You can tell it's a flip. Look at the water line here. Refrigerator doesn't fit in the stinking hole. I don't know why there's a water line here. Refrigerator's there. Maybe that's an electrical. I don't know. Small vanity, small everything. Fisheye lens. Hadn't been or the updates are crappy. Backyard's the exact same. I don't think that property. I think that property looks way better in photos. All right. So, but it's not terribly off, so I'm not gonna mess with it. Seneca, about the same. It's a flip house. You can tell it's got new appliances. And yes, this is how fast I scroll through all of them. It's going to have a little bit of weirdness to it. I can just tell by the rooms and how they're laid out with the extra furniture. If you don't believe me, go back through the video. All right, this one, exterior is not looking great for us. Interior is a lot better than exterior. They didn't do any curb appeal, great flooring, radiator heaters in there. I don't know if they work or not. We can go back through. This got a garage. That's a big deal over there. So that property's worth probably a little bit more off of the garage space. Okay, Queen Street. We're not using it. We already said we weren't using it. That's crazy. Here, I'll show you why. Look at it. Look how nice that upgrade is. All that landscape, and you probably got $50,000 of landscape in there. Upgraded inside, ceiling fans, you know, built-ins, bathtubs. Everything's been remodeled. Solid surfaces. Prep kitchen. Huge kitchen. Look at those. Yeah, that's way nicer than ours. So I'd never use that as a comp. All right, next one up. Madison. A little bit smaller house. Good bones. But guess what? We don't really care about the size of it because the size is going to be relatable to the sold price. I'll show you. All right, another one on Madison. Go back through it. It's got upgrades in the kitchen, everything else pretty basic. They've upgraded the lights, It's got a full basement, which is desirable around there because there's not a lot of storage. Backyard sucks. Landscaping wise, nice area. Miller Street, that's a totally different style house. It's been upgraded. New windows. I'm going to take that one off of my list. And if you notice, I'm not going back through and looking at the price of these. This Laughlin one was really expensive. Why? Even though it's on the same street, it's on the actually opposite side of the street. So it's not the same part of Laughlin. I'll show you what I mean by that here in a second. It's been upgraded. Bedroom small, nice area, but it's a really small house. Huge backyard. Wow, it's a nice backyard, especially for over there. Most everything over there just drops off like a cliff. All right. So what I mean by that, look at the square footage, 1,500 square foot. So you're quite a bit smaller on that end of it. All right, so we've narrowed it down. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the refine button, hit narrow. Why am I going to do that? So I don't have to look at the rest of them. I've narrowed it down to these. All right, next thing I want to do is I'm going to look at a map. But if I don't know the area, I know the area, so I know where all the properties sit. But if you ever heard the old saying of, crossing the railroad tracks means business. Well, guess what? We didn't cross over this major thoroughfare right here, Business 40, Salem Parkway, whatever you want to call it, you liberal hippies. And then you've got Peters Creek Parkway over here. West Salem area is completely different. This is all in Ardmore. Now, the one thing I will say is properties on this side of the street sometimes can be worth a little bit more. Other things that you've got is Hawthorne's a very busy road. So the ones on Hawthorne might not be worth as much just due to the traffic. Same thing with this one on Academy. Peters Creek is a major thoroughfare, and then they take Academy over to Hawthorne, and that's how people get to the hospital, which is right here. So the reason why I bought this property is because it was going to be a great rental for doctors. All right, so got that. So then go to results. We're back here. Next thing I'm going to do is pull up a quick CMA again, and we're going to just compare apples to apples here. All right, so look at it. 185 average. What was our other one? 187 average. Like I said, I just did all that work and really didn't have to. I took out a couple of outliers, but it really didn't have to. Now, as you can tell, there's a reason why this one's still sitting on the market, 50 days on the market. Most of these aren't at that because it's overpriced. Look at it. Nobody's going to pay that much money for a property on a major thoroughfare. All right, so if you want to send somebody this and say that property's sitting at $500,000, then you're more welcome to. So that's how you get the quick CMA. Now, if I'm sending you something, just so we're all aware, I go like this. I hit print, I send agent full, I send the photos, the multi-map, and the quick CMA. Then I'm going to hit email. Right now I'm going to hit print just so y'all can see what I sort of see whenever I'm sending it to you, so you can go over it with a client if you want to. Big tip, if you are going over this with a client, do not leave that with them. They can poke and prod and figure out what's different with their property versus another property, and everything else. I would give them numbers and that's it. So the very first thing that you're going to see is a single line, just like you got on the MLS. The next one is the agent full ones. If you've got somebody you really don't trust, you can do the client full. Client full takes away all this information down here at the bottom, so they can't see who the other listing agent actually is. So you go through here and you can say, oh, okay, let me call Clint Snuggs or something like that, because he sold properties over here. All right, so that's all the different properties. I also send the photos. Why do I send the photos? So whenever you're sitting there with the clients, if you want to go over and say, okay, this is the condition of that property that is sitting for $250 a square foot. It's in very good condition, just like your property is, Mr. Seller, but as you can tell, it's not selling at that. They are overpriced. Okay, this one sold in how many days, blah, blah, blah. That's in a light condition, yada, yada, yada. Or this one's way less nice than yours, so you might want to price it a little bit higher than that. Use the actual figures and facts to support your numbers. When you're doing a CMA for somebody, never give them a straight up price. So never just say, hey, I think it's worth $250,000. Why? Because of the square footage. If your square footage is off, so we'll go right here. Let's pull up our handy dandy calculator. Let's just say my square footage is off. So let's just say, okay, we said it was at 185 a square foot times 1957. All right, so that's $362,000. Great. Now, but what if when you come back, square footage is off by 200 square foot, 250 square foot? You just dropped that list price by a ton, and they're going to be pissed off. And then whenever you go back and say, well, I based it off of the realist card and that's it, then you sort of pinned yourself into a hole. So if I tell somebody, I think it's worth $185 a square foot, when we get the measurements back, we'll be able to tell what the actual full square footage of this property is and give you a listing price, and we'll adjust accordingly. Like at $314,500, I'm probably going to list at $315. All right, so back at the CMA end of things, here's the map. Why do I send a map? That way they can sort of see what is going on, how close the properties are. And then lastly, you've got the CMA report, the market analysis of everything in here. This just sort of makes everything on the sold end up like in a spreadsheet for people to be able to see. It's got the averages and maxes. So the max square price per square footage is 208. If you think your property's better than everybody else's, you might be at 190, 195, 192 square foot, depending on what you've got going on. Other thing you've got to see is at that max, look at the days on market. Days on market's 81 days. That is extremely long for this area. So is your client willing to wait if they're going to price it higher? Or if they want to price it on the low side, they're going to sell it pretty much immediately. So if you sold it for 170, 165 a square foot, you're probably going to get offers on the very first day. So it really works accordingly to how they actually want to sell their property. Let them figure out their number. Don't let you do it. And we'll just go from there. But I think that's all I've got for this one. And we will do another one a little bit more detailed in a little bit.